So welcome again, everybody, to this RDA Tiger Cascading Grants webinar. We're happy to have you with us today and talk a bit about the Cascade grants that are currently open for applications. If you go to the next slide, we see, so we'll start with some opening remarks. So to introduce you to the context about these cascading grants, to understand who is the organization offering the cascading grants. As RDA Europe, which is coordinator of this RDA Tiger project. And RDA Tiger project is the project offering the cascading grants. Then we talk a bit about the cascading grants themselves and how you can apply for them. And then there will be an extended Q&A session at the end. As you saw, the session is recorded. So if you wish to be not included with your video, we ask you to keep your video off. We also ask all participants to mute themselves so that there would be no interference. And at this point, I'm done with the introductions, and I'll hand it over to Alex Delipalta, who's the director of RDA Europe, to give us the context for these cascading grants.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So before we jump into RDA Tiger, a few quick words about us. So we are the European Office of the Research Data Alliance. We share the same values as the global RDA, and we have a specific mission to support the data communities in Europe, advocate for the unique and collective interests in the European data landscape, and to facilitate these connections between regional, national, and global initiatives. So we work on the internationalization of those European solutions and initiatives. We align with the European Open Science Cloud to ensure that Europe is at the forefront of global open science efforts and developments. And we address, through our work on the Horizon Europe projects, for example, we address key European priorities such as data interoperability. So this is among other things. And can I have the next slide, please? And we also coordinate the RDA Tiger project. So RDA Tiger is a 3-year European Commission funded project. It's set out in January 2023 to support RDA working groups that concretely align, harmonize, and standardize open science developments and technologies globally. So we provide support to the RDA working groups through various actions. You may already be aware of our in-kind support services. So we offer facilitation, communications, output support, and landscape and engagement services. And we offer these services from group inception, so even before a group is formed, to wrap up. We provide small grants up to €5,000 to engage external experts for specific group activities. We are developing a maintenance facility, which is an application of tools and services developed to facilitate and support the RDA working groups, including an RDA knowledge graph. And as is the theme of today's webinar, we also offer cascade grants for larger projects, larger amounts, to enhance the work of the working groups, for example, via the adoption of outputs and the further development of outputs and recommendations. Now, the next slide, please. So why do we do all this? So we are delighted to be supporting the work of the RDA at the global scale. And through this work, we enhance, we verbalize, and we highlight the impact of the global RDA to this European data landscape. RDA is the backbone of numerous European initiatives. And through our work on this project, we highlight this impact, and we support the work of the RDA. So this slide very briefly presents the supported working groups providing solutions, for example, to the EOSC Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda Implementation Challenges. And it's a quick slide. I will not talk about it now because there is an extensive report coming up, so do watch the space. And with this, I hand over to Lisa. Thanks again to everyone who joined us. And On to you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we turn to what I suspect most of you want to hear the most today, which is information about the cascading crans. I also assume that many of you are familiar with the concept of cascading crans in Horizon Europe, or previously Horizon 2020 funding. This is a mechanism that the European Commission has added to Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe funding that allows to distribute public money to support the uptake or development of digital innovation. And RDA Tiger cascading grants are aimed at supporting the development and or uptake of RDA working group outputs. We are able to make up to 40,000 euro per grant available through those cascading grants, and they are available for both current and potential RDA working groups, but perhaps more interestingly to many of you, also to individuals or organizations who are interested in adopting RDA recommendations or outputs. Can I have the next slide, please? So you heard Alex before mention that RDA Tiger offers several kinds of support through its activity. There are the so-called RDA Tiger open calls, and there is now the RDA Tiger cascading grants, and we want to clarify some potential confusion between the two. Especially because they're also both open at the moment and accept applications until the end of the month. So many of you may already have experience with that RDA Tiger open calls that support current or potential RDA working groups and offer then in-kind support from the RDA Tiger consortium to those working groups, or small grants for the working groups to engage external experts for their work. These are run as recurrent calls with current deadlines. The next one is on November 30th. And there will be further deadlines for these next year in 3 monthly intervals. Today, however, we're talking about the cascading grants, which are open, as I said before, both to RDA working groups, but also to individuals or organizations who are perhaps not contributing to a working group, but would like to work towards the adoption of an RDA recommendation or output. The cascading grants are bigger in terms of distributing more money. They make available up to 40,000 euro for the work as it is defined by the applicants within the framework of the cascading grant. And we have a deadline for the cascading grants on December 30th. You can find out more information in the rest of the webinar, but also on the website here. And to understand better the difference between the two, also under both of those links that you have here and that I ask Genevieve perhaps also to drop into the chat, there is description of the difference between the two, so to clarify any potential confusion between the two. Now that we move on to talking what type of projects might be eligible for these cascading grants. We've already mentioned several times that we're looking for potentially projects that work towards adoption or testing or verification of RDA recommendations or outputs. You can find a repository of those recommendations and outputs on the RDA website. We are also potentially interested in projects that come out of current RDA working groups who wish to develop or plan the standardization of their outputs by established standards organizations. But through cascading grants, we are also able to support current or perhaps also planned working groups in their life cycle work. So, for example, if there's a working group that is in an earlier stage of their activity and would benefit from an extended landscape analysis, a cascading grant might help them to perform an extensive landscape review work, or a working group that is in the middle of their work cycle and would benefit from some research type work along the lines of surveys or interviews, focus groups, whatnot. The cascading grant might come in handy here to hire, for example, a researcher or research assistant to do this work for the working group. There's also room for projects that seek to do small scale technical development to support the adoption of RDA recommendations or outputs. And there is room for projects that try to use RDA recommendations or outputs for developing interoperability solutions in the context of EOSC. So as you see, there is a range of possible projects that could be funded from those cascade grants. They can either be working group, come from within working groups. So working groups can use the cascade grant option to enhance their work, to support their work. Or they can, the applications can come from external entities who are interested in using RDA recommendations or outputs and adopting them or verifying them, or developing solutions based on technical solutions based on those outputs. So it's a bottom-up funding in a way that allows you a great deal of flexibility within this framework to put together an application. Can I have the next slide, please? There are some constraints. One of the bigger constraints is the budget. So we are making available up to 40,000 euro per grant. And the total budget available for this call is 100,000 euro. Ourselves, we envision dividing it between two bigger projects and two smaller projects. And the eligible costs include personnel costs, travel costs, and other direct costs related, for example, event organization, but also open access fees, for example, could be in this category. So costs related to the type of work that I outlined in the previous slide. And now I think it's time to turn this over to Ryan to explain more about the application process.
Yep. Thanks, Lisa, and thanks, Alex. And yeah, just to reiterate the welcome to everybody. It's good to see some people who are recognized from some of the RDA groups we're supporting already here today. And there's some new faces and names as well. So yeah, so I'll briefly. So I know I'm sure you're all keen to ask some questions about what is eligible and what's not eligible and your ideas for your application. But first, I think it would be good just to kind of briefly run through the whole application process and just have a quick look at the form. So really, the application process is sort of a three-step process. Essentially, what we're asking you to do first is to download and complete an application form. It's just a Word document. I'll present that to you in a few minutes. Separately, then we're asking you to complete a very short online form. It's just your name, contact email and one other question, I think. So it's a very short form. But once you have that form completed, you'll be provided with a link to a B2 drop facility, which essentially allows us to store all applications securely and confidentially. Essentially, once you have that link, you can upload your completed application form. So in my head, this is quite a straightforward process, but I think it might be a good idea for those of you who haven't gone through the Tiger application process before to maybe just see that in action. So what I'll do is I will stop sharing my screen for 1 second, and I'm just going to go on to the website, and I'm just going to go through it step by step, the whole application process. So, okay, I'll paste into the chat the screen I'll be presenting, or the page I'll be presenting on screen. So that I'll just paste into the chat is the link to the Cascading Grants page, and I will share my screen as well, so you'll be able to see what I'm seeing. No, can someone give me an indication that they can see the RDA Tiger Cascading Grants page?
Oh, good.
Yep, cool. Okay, so this has all the information essentially that we've presented already, and clearly has the application forms and the whole procedure. So what you'll be doing when you get to this page is you can either download the application form here from the top, or you can scroll down and go to point 4, which is the application process. So as I said, it's a 3-stage process. So we'll be asking you to download and fill out this application form, which once you hit this, it will just download to your whatever browser you're using, and you will be presented with this form. So this is a Word form that has just kind of controlled fields, so you can just enter text into these fields here where it says click to enter text. I'll just take a minute just to run through this form quickly. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's always worth seeing someone else have a run through it. So as part of the process, we will just be asking for one applicant to be the named applicant, and for them to be the sort of main person we deal with when we're assigning the fees. So this person will fill out the form on behalf of their consortium, their group, or if it's their individual application, then on their own behalf. So we'll just be looking for their details here, and also a brief involvement of their history and their involvement with RDA, if there is any. And moving on to section 2, then we'll have we're asking for an abstract, so an outline of the proposed activity and the planned outputs. Then on to section 3, we're looking to see how these outputs and how this activity sort of aligns with these 3 main areas, so that how it aligns with open science principles, for example, FAIR principles, CARE principles, trust principles, etc. Also how it aligns with the RDA strategic goals. There's a link to the RDA's current strategic plan on the document. And also finally then how it aligns with the EOSC, the European Open Science Cloud, EOSC. There's a link to the EOSC's strategic research and innovation agenda there as well for information. So in this section, we'll be asking you to fill out one or more of these sections, so A, B, C. You won't be marked down for not filling out all 3. You don't get extra marks. They'll be sort of divided. If your response to one is strong enough, then that counts as a strong response. It's not cumulative in that sense. Then on section 4, we're looking for you to do similar to fill out your responses on the impact of the proposed impact of the work you are applying for support for. So there's a couple of sections here, A through to E, and we're asking how the grant and the output specifically represent an advancement in one of the following areas. So there's a list. I won't read all these areas out here. They're pretty clearly explained. And obviously, again, it's a case of selecting all that apply here. So any one of these that is relevant to the outputs, we're asking you to fill out your response in the right-hand column here. Then we will ask you to provide just an overall sort of work plan, so expected delivery dates, a list of milestones, and obviously and a bit more detail on the deliverables and the final outputs as well, and then a breakdown of the budget. in the final section here. So we're looking for the total budget and the breakdown as you see it against these categories. So that is the form. One thing to note is that we do have we've sort of outlined character limits in these boxes. So we won't be, so the boxes allow you to, so for instance, this box here allows you to go over 3,000 characters, but we're asking people to kind of self-police that. So we won't be able to take any responses, consider any of the response beyond 3,000 characters. We'll have to enforce a cutoff there. But so we're asking people to kind of self-police that. And the same with the other sections below. So I'll go back to the website. So once you've filled out the application form and you're happy with it, you will be at the next stage is to go to fill out a very short online form. So I will just open this form here. So there's a Microsoft Office form. Can I just confirm again that people are seeing the form on screen?
Yes.
Yep, cool. So as I said, you just click on that link here and it takes you to an Office form. So you, again, as I said, you'll just be asked for the title of the grant proposal and some other short pieces of information. And I will just show you what we're doing here. So putting in a test application, test working group. I'll put my name down as this. Hopefully I won't get considered for an award. And I'll put my own email address. So once you've entered this information, you'll be asked to just hit submit. And then what will happen is you'll be presented, as I said, with this link to this B2 drop facility. So essentially, this is a link that's generated as part of each form. And this is the kind of unique link that applicants will be presented with. So this allows, as it says here, please complete the final step in the application process by uploading the completed application form in a PDF format. So you'll just click on this link. We'll take you to the B2 drop page, and you can just select from you can drag or drop, or you can select from your own device and just upload the form there. And then that is it for the application form. You should get an email notification, sort of just confirming that your application has been made, and that was the whole process. If you have any questions about that, we do have a section in a few minutes for any questions. But before we get to that, I think the final thing I just want to bring to your attention is just how we process the applications and a bit of the timeline as well. So applications for the Cascading grants are evaluated by the RDA Tiger Selection Committee panel. So this panel is made up of people from the RDA Tiger Consortium, from general RDA governance, so people from the RDA Technical Advisory Board and from the RDA Secretariat, and also people from the EOSC Association. The criteria by which the applications are judged are according to excellence, impact, and implementation. So these kind of correspond to the areas in the form, and they're given the weighting here on the right hand side, 35, 40, and 25% respectively. And just to reiterate, the deadline for applications is in just under a month, probably actually nearly exactly 28 days, probably 27 days actually. So on the 3rd of December at midnight AOE. I only found out today that AOE means anywhere on Earth. So if it's still 3rd of December anywhere on Earth, we're accepting applications. But obviously once all the clocks worldwide click over to the 4th of December, the applications will be closed. And we're hoping then to issue notifications, whether successful or unsuccessful, to applicants in the week commencing 16th of December. So just in the lead up to what will be a Christmas break for a lot of people. That is it on the application sort of process. And I think we're moving on to the section now where we have any questions. Again, if you have any questions from myself or Alex or Feliza about anything to do with the whole process, or if you've just kind of general sort of clarification questions, please feel free to bring them up. What we'll do now, we'll paste some of the relevant links to the website areas in the chat now as well. But I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll invite people if you do have any questions to put them to us.
There's a question there, Ryan, about in the chat, can freelancers apply in order to create open source tools of common interest adopting RDA outcomes?
Alex or Lisa, can you just on the second part of that question, is the funding scheme a lump sum or is it a precise actual cost calculation required?
So freelancers, as in individuals not associated with a larger institution. So there is an extensive list of eligibility criteria. As long as you meet those criteria to be eligible for Horizon funding, it's okay to have your own company, to be a freelancer, to be a self-employed individual, as long as you meet the criteria set by the Commission. In terms of the lump sum or a precise actual cost, this is correct me if I'm wrong, but it's actually both. So it will be a lump sum, but it's based on the eligible cost. So you will submit the budget, like we will need for this, you will need for your action, and that will be provided as a lump sum.
Maybe just to clarify the last point, is that we need a proof that you have actually spent the lump sum, so to say. Yeah, we need a proof that you have spent the money as indicated in your budget. That's why there's a bit of both. And to confirm what Alex said, if you're a freelancer with your own company, that should be eligible, but to double check with the Horizon eligibility criteria.
So thanks for the questions, everybody, and feel free to add more questions into the chat, or if you want, raise your hand or unmute yourself. This is the section where we're asking people to come forward. And David Thomas, your question on what is the duration of the projects? Is it 1 year? So as we've stated, as it says on the web page, I should have mentioned it. We're asking projects to be completed by the end of October 2025. So it's just under a year.
And here maybe to add that realistically the projects can probably start in February to March 2025. So the timeline for the projects is from February, March 2025 to October 2025. There is a next question by Fernando Aguilar. The projects can be adopting any work in progress recommendation, or they need to adopt an already released output. From my perspective, both is okay. If there are two different types of projects in this case, so if it's a project seeking to adopt an existing RDA output or recommendation, then it's an adoption test verification type of project. If you're working with work in progress, then we would expect to see a proposal coming from within within an RDA working group that is using the Cascade grant to advance their work plan, basically. So either could be okay, but it's probably two different types of projects with two different types of applicants. So either an RDA working group or an organization seeking to adopt or test a recommendation. If you want to clarify your question or indicate if this answer responded to your question, please feel free to unmute yourself or add to the chat, please.
I think on that, just to add to that, yes, Lisa, that's my understanding of it as well. But Fernando, so if it is a case that you are if a proposal is to adopt or can implement a RDA output in progress, we would expect there to see some level of coordination with the working group, and also to for the this project to demonstrate how it feeds into the final version of that recommendation or output. There's a question from Lionel Nicolas on what we expect the success rate to be, and will there be subsequent calls? That's a good question. If I knew the answer to that, it'd be a different job. Alex, or do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can have a guess. Based on the incredible take-up of the in-kind support services that we offer. So for context, we set out to support 15 RDA working groups, and we are currently supporting 24, and we are just over halfway at the halfway point in the project. So there has been very clear demand for the RDA Tiger services, and I expect that the cascading grants might be comparably popular. Whether there will be a follow-up call, Lisa can also touch on that, but we expect at least one more in the next year in the run-up to the Brisbane IDW. But Lisa, would you like to add to that?
No, what Alex just said. So we expect another call next year. The exact specifications of that call are still to be determined. So if you have a project idea now that fits the specifications of this call, we would encourage you to apply now, basically.
Yes, that's an important point, Lisa. Thanks. If you do have, I wouldn't postpone, because if there is a subsequent cascading grant call, the focus of that may be different. So if you have an idea that fits under this, we do encourage you to submit an application at this time.
One thing I meant to mention in my part of the presentation was that, but if it wasn't clear already, that as Alex was saying, we were supporting a lot of groups through the in-kind support specifically, but also through the external grants as well. But any groups that have sort of benefited from the in-kind support are still eligible. There isn't a limit there. We can support them for these grants too. There's another question on the grant side of things. So from Ioana Cortea, is it permissible to allocate grant funding towards costs managed by third-party partners? That again, Alex, I'm going to look to you. I'm not too familiar with the specifics of this.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't quite understand. Perhaps, Ioana, you could explain what you mean. So what kind of third-party partner do you anticipate? Subcontracting within the current, that is a tricky one. So you can have a consortium of people submitting an application, and you can have a leading grant holder, which will be, or you should actually have a leading grant holder who is managing the consortium. So in that sense, you could then distribute the funds to your consortium. I think this is what you mean by subcontracting. You can have multiple partners.
Is there any more questions? As we said, please feel free to, if you're more comfortable, putting your question in the chat, and go ahead. But if you want to unmute your microphone or raise your hand, please feel free to do so. I'm just working in the background without sharing my screen, trying to get a copy of the slides ready. So I'll hopefully get those ready in the next minute or two, and I'll share them via the chat.
And in the meantime, I have also already once, but I'll put it again into the chat, the link to the RDA outputs and recommendations repository or website where you can find them. Repository might be a bit too much to call it. But because we have mentioned throughout this webinar that there will the potential projects they might want to look into adoption or implementation of RDA recommendations or outputs, and this is where you can actually find those RDA recommendations and outputs if you don't already have one specific in mind, or if you want to see if there are other related recommendations or outputs. They're all also available on Zenodo, but this is the website is the place to go and sort through them and see what's there if you're interested. Do we have any further questions, concerns? I think I'm happy to see that I think in the room there are both people from current RDA working groups as well as participants who are external. So this makes me hopeful that we will see a range of applications, both from working groups seeking to use the Cascade grants to support the fulfillment of their work plan, as well as organizations or individuals seeking to implement or adopt some RDA outputs. Ryan has now also included link to the slides in the chat. And Alex before sent also included the email address. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and questions about what type of projects might be eligible, questions about the application process, anything really. If you have an idea, want to run it by us, please do use this email address. We're happy to talk to you about your potential application and make sure that you find the right type of application for you and are able to submit it by December 3rd.
If there are no more questions from from attendees to us, maybe I can ask people a question. Maybe if you can indicate via the chat or putting up your hand, do you think you're likely to maybe make an application, or if you're considering it, or you're still sort of unsure and wanted to maybe do a bit more reading or discussing with your colleagues? Is anyone likely to make an application, do you think, at this stage? You can put up your hand or say yes in the chat. Or okay, a few yeses then. Obviously, is more of an undertaking than I guess than some of the other Tiger support we have available, which is kind of typically less sort of the application process, less sort of onerous. But this is obviously kind of a larger grant, so this does take a little bit more thought. But yeah, it's good to see there's some positive responses there in the chat.
I'd say that we do appreciate that it's a different process, that it's a little bit more involved, and we're here to help. So this webinar is the first step. Our email is open to all sorts of inquiries, and we are known to jump on calls with applicants to try and help. So do reach out, and we will be there to help any way we can.
We'll also be present for those of you who are traveling or virtually traveling. We'll have a lot of presence in P23 in Costa Rica. So if you have any questions, feel free to just approach us or any of your colleagues with the Tiger pins or Tiger lanyards, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Sorry for the baby singing in the background.
She's contributing to the webinar entertainment. If there are no further questions, then I think I would almost close it here. You are all, you all have our email address, you have the slides. Take your time to look through them again, and please be in touch. And as Alex and Ryan both just said, grab us, stop us when you see us in person, or shoot us an email and get us on a call. We'll be happy to talk about this. There is still a good month to go, and there's time to think this through and put together a good application. So we hope to see many applications when we wake up on December 4th. And or if you go to Hawaii and submit it from there, then we look for them on midday on December 4th. But we look forward to them, and thank you for attending the webinar today.